Hey everybody, Chris St. John here, architect and dev working on AI dev tips. Today we'll be looking at entity resource diagram from a schema with ChatGPT, generating text, and Mermaid Markdown for the ERD using ChatGPT and AI. AI Dev Tips is a new tutorial series increasing developer productivity, maximizing talent, minimizing tedious tasks by using ChatGPT and other AI tools. Share this video, hit that like button, and subscribe to get all the latest AI dev tips. We'll be developing a really cool markdown diagram like this. This is from Mermaid.live. GPT will take our scenario and create the code for this. Coming up first, we're going to look at why an entity resource diagram. What does an ERD do for us? We'll put in our schema, get out just text bullet points that we can put into a diagram tool like Lucid charts or draw.io. Then, what is Mermaid for Markdown? A way to make diagrams actually in Markdown. We'll get through a couple errors, look at some more Mermaid examples, and then some final tips. This is brought to you by
Instantiate.io. AI tools to brainstorm, organize, and advance a successful startup. Go to Instantiate.io. Free sign up. Over 50 AI tools to help develop your business plan. Track your progress. No coding required, just put in your ideas. Organize, save, advance AI results into your startup plans. Sign up is free, easy, and fast. Go check it out.
An entity resource diagram is a visual representation of data models showing entities, attributes, and relationships. Basically, what this gives us is it helps us conceptualize the database design, makes it easier to communicate with stakeholders, product managers, product owners about the data structure. It also acts as documentation for the developers. And it just helps the efficiency of validating our data schema, debugging it, troubleshooting. It could also be used to help inform API endpoints, although it's usually not recommended to use the ERD directly for that. So it does do a lot for us and is recommended for professional projects. If you haven't seen an ERD before, this is what it looks like. So recall that we have our schema that we made from our previous video where ChatGPT outputted the full schema. We're going to put into the prompt, help me compose an ERD entity resource diagram for documentation for my project. Here is a database schema. Then we're just going to copy paste that. See here that we get the output back from ChatGPT organized into two different headings, entities and attributes, and relationships. Entities and attributes is going to give us all the tables and the attributes, primary key, the type of attribute that it is. And relationships is going to give us things like one to many, many to many, and whatever it is for the relationship of that table. You can take this text input, put it into a draw.io ERD diagram or with Lucid charts, and just fill it in that way. Now, if we want to get a little fancier, we can use Mermaid, which is a diagramming and charting tool that uses Markdown-inspired text definitions. We can get the Markdown from ChatGPT. It comes out just the same way Markdown would, but is labeled Mermaid with the backticks. Note that you will need to include a plugin in your app, or you can use the code playground for testing. Mermaid can make many different types of diagrams too, not just an entity resource diagram. You can make flowcharts, sequence diagrams, user journeys, many different ones, and we might try out some of these, but it's fun to just take a look at the documentation here. And like I said, there is a code playground where you can do testing with it as well. So let's get our ERD into Mermaid Markdown. We're going to ask ChatGPT in the input prompt, can you provide the same schema as Markdown Mermaid format for an ERD entity resource diagram? Same database schema I just provided. ChatGPT returns the Markdown as expected. You see the backticks with the mermaid, and we can just copy the code and put this into our editor or the mermaid code playground. See here that I've copied that code that was outputted by ChatGPT. I've put it into Visual Studio Code, which is my IDE. I already had a project that was using Mermaid Markdown, so I thought I would just put it into that project to make it easier to use. One thing to understand is that you do need to set up Mermaid into your application as an NPM package or plugin, or however it's done in your application as a package, because it's not part of the regular Markdown. I was using Docusaurus and had already set it up for Mermaid, and I got this page crash. Let's find out what the problem is. It says parse error, and this is usually some kind of character or spacing issue, or perhaps I didn't even copy the code correctly. I put in the error to ChatGPT, checked that out before doing more research, and as expected, it does say that there's some sort of spacing or character problem. I got the new code and pasted that in. I put that in and wonderful. I have a really good looking chart. I'm really happy with this so far. It has all the parts of the schema that mattered. It has the table names, the attributes with the types. It has the relationships, one to many, many to many. And best of all, this is looking really sharp. It's very clear and it is visually appealing. It's pretty awesome, but it is missing something. It's missing the primary keys and foreign keys. So let's look at that. We're going to look more into that in a moment, but first let's look at mermaid.live. This is a great code playground for testing out your Mermaid Markdown. This is perfect for whatever reason. If you don't want to start up a new project with the Mermaid plugin, or you don't want to install additional packages, you just want to do some testing, you can try different diagrams with this. Turns out that by default, Mermaid Markdown does not use a primary or a foreign key in any special way. So what we have to do is put it in as a comment. And actually ChatGPT can do this, so I've put this into an input prompt. Can you give me the PK and FK with it? I was playing around with Mermaid Live, so I just thought I would just change the theme to the light theme. And here we do see that the primary key and foreign key are now in there. So big success overall, and it was very easy to do this. So just some tips and improvements to get the most out of these ERD prompts that we're doing. First of all, make sure you're starting with a good schema. Have a clearly defined schema that has the table names, field names, data types, and relationships. Also, make sure to understand that Mermaid's basic ERD syntax won't include PK or FK, so ask for them and they can be added as comments. There are a couple other things. You can specify horizontal or vertical orientation. You can also specify the theme color. And there are some other variables as well. Lastly, it goes without saying, ChatGPT does make mistakes, so make sure to validate this and use other tools. And remember, this is for prototyping. Enterprise architecture does require fine-tuning and customization to your particular use cases. If you're enjoying this video and the series, make sure to share this with your friends and colleagues, as well as like the video and subscribe. It really helps us get the word out. Also try Instantiate.io, the first 30 days of your startup idea in one day. Instantiate.io has over 50 tools to help your startup succeed and build a great startup plan to get your startup off the ground. visit instantiate.io. It's a free sign up.